group, there were 12 of us newly blinded adults. 6 of us were black, 6 of us were white. Our ages ranged from 20s to middle 70s. There were 2 grandmas in that group. There was a young Dunwoody housewife who had just become totally blind as a result of a freak accident. Of course, there was myself, a practicing pediatrician. There was a PhD from the University System of Georgia in that group of 12. There was one young man who made his living repairing lawnmowers. So the problem is this, ladies and gentlemen, whether you're rich or poor, whether you're high or low, whether you're black or white, there may, God forbid, come a time in your life or in the life of someone you care about when a great, major, personal catastrophe will occur, and United Way will be the only game in town. And that's the way it was for me. So I made arrangements so I would go down to the Center for Vision Impaired 3 mornings a week. They had classes from 8:30 to 11:30 for us newly blinded adults. This program lasted about 9 months. At the end of that time, I completed that course, and the director of the center came to me and said, "Jerry, we know you're a pediatrician. How would you like to help us start a program for blind babies?" Well, naturally, I said, "Yes, I'd be glad to help. What do I need to do?" She said, "Well, Jerry, all you have to do is go out and raise the money." That wasn't difficult because I had a dear friend who wrote out the first 5-figure check that made payable to the Center for Vision Impaired, and we started this program for blind babies. And I had the honor and the privilege of not only being a founder, but of being its first volunteer medical consultant. I can tell you this, that this program now has been going on at the Center for 25 years. It is the premier program for blind infants in this state. It is one of the finest in the whole country. And I can tell you this, during the 25 years of that program, we have seen more than 1,500 blind infants and preschoolers. Can you think of anything more devastating, anything more overwhelming than to come home from the hospital with a blind infant in your arms? I've had the pleasure of continuing now, 25 years later, to still be their volunteer medical consultant. I think it's just a fantastic program. I don't have time to tell you all my stories, but I just want to tell you one thing about this involving this cane. My wife and I were at Perimeter Mall. At that time, Perimeter Mall's anchor store was Rich's. I don't know if you were old enough to remember that. We were shopping at Rich's, and of course I told my cane, I held on to my wife's arm as we finished shopping. I knew we were leaving the store because I could sense bright daylight coming through the big glass door, so I know we were heading towards the parking lot to get into our car, and I unfurled my cane. A blue-haired lady rushed over to me, she grabbed my arm, she said, "Excuse me, sir, but where did you get that cute cane?" Now, I'm going to tell you where I got the cane, but first I must tell you I'm blind. Oh, you're blind? I just want to know where you got it. I've got a dear friend, and he don't see so good. His wife just passed away, and I thought I'd like to get him something like that cute cane. Anyway, I gave her the name and the phone number of the Center for the Vision Impaired, and I hope she got what she was looking for. I've had a lot of fun and enjoyment speaking for United Way. It's just been one of the greatest privileges and pleasures of my life. I won't take up any more of the time, but you have to know, and you all know it because you're United Way people, it's people helping people that gets the job done. And I just want to finish by telling you a story to impress upon you how important it is that you help others. The story goes like this. The time was 5:30 p.m. It was on a Friday afternoon, downtown Atlanta, at a bus stop. People were waiting to get on the bus. Now, the lady at the head of the line was very short. She was just under 5 feet tall, but she made up for what she lacked in stature. She made up for it in avoirdupois. She weighed story.